This year, HART is proud to honor the 436 Freedom Riders who in 1961 gathered as a nonviolent army of bus and train riders venturing into the Deep South, deliberately provoking and challenging federal officials to enforce racial equality. We're fortunate to highlight local Freedom Riders, Dr. Bernard Lafayette and Kredelle Petway, and USF Professor of History, Raymond Arsenault, who authored Freedom Riders, 1961 and the Struggle for Racial Justice. This book documents the amazing but dangerous story of activists whose defiant acts took the civil rights movement out of the courtroom that had created federal mandates largely ignored by the Jim Crow South.
As I started meeting and talking to Freedom Riders and digging deeper into the research, I began to understand not only the complexity of the story, the scope of it, but the meaning of it. You know, I realized that I've got involved in something much larger than anything else that I ever expected to deal with as a historian. And I felt that although the Freedom Rider story was sort of known, no one had focused on it. No one had written a book on it before, and so I took it as my life's work, really, to rediscover the Freedom Riders as best I could, to try to do full justice to their story. No one really can do that because there are 436 different stories, and but they are it's an amazing, I think, testament to the human spirit to look back to see how they changed all of our lives and how they redefined the whole kind of meaning of American democracy.
It was a very interesting part of my life because to me, it was more than just about sitting to eat or riding where you wanted to ride. It had a much greater impact, and at the time, maybe many of us did not realize that it would go on to lead to other things in terms of the social injustices that were suffered by African Americans at that time. I like to refer to it as somewhat of a kickoff for the Civil Rights Movement and the Civil Rights Acts that were passed after that.
The Freedom Rides was the movement that brought large numbers of whites, northern whites particularly, and other ethnic groups, and people from other countries. If change is going to take place, one of the prerequisites is that you must be able to get the sympathy, if not the active participation of the majority. As a result of the Freedom Riders coming into Jackson, Mississippi, and into Mississippi, and in other parts of the South, that's when we really experienced the change, because they had a taste of what this was all about. And obviously, the majority recognized the importance of the social change, and we see that happened.
So they really changed the whole agenda of American politics, and they redefined American democracy by again, this kind of grassroots movement of ordinary people doing extraordinary things. When they got on that bus, they never really got off.
Arsenault's book was made into a documentary film released last year to commemorate the 50th anniversary of the Freedom Riders. But the courage and strength of the Freedom Riders should never be forgotten, and this year, HART is proud to renew tribute to their legacy.